now the central hub, financial hub. How does it compare in your eyes? Just a quick one. From London, New York, you know, your major players, Singapore, for example. And where do you see in the next 5 years, 10 years in the UAE, where do you see the funds really going? Do you still be number one here? Do you still has got the opportunity to take over? What's your...
Well, I don't think it's part of the agenda to try to take over or not. I think they are, what is happening here is that they are suddenly taking leadership in a certain segment.
Correct.
And New York will remain
a financial hub, yes.
And probably the biggest one in the world. I mean, America, whatever you think of the current leadership and whatever, is and remains the biggest capital pool in the world in terms of establishments. London is what it has always been, an incredible marketplace, and I don't expect it to disappear over time. I don't think the problem are with the marketplaces, the financial centers, better said. I think the problem will come from the economical growth of the underlying economy of the respective countries. But London will still be a place, and New York on NASDAQ, where companies from all around the world will continue list their shares and raise capital, find partnerships.
It goes back to the old-fashioned values, doesn't it? People have done it for years and generations. And
of course,
wealthy families have always had assets, always done business, and always worked in those markets. And they still feel confident. They want to diversify. And I think the UAE is given diversification for sure, but new emerging markets, as we discussed, North Africa, Egypt specifically, for example. But I still think, like you mentioned, London, New York still has the old-fashioned values and stability that they still like to have a part of their portfolio there.
And these places, I mean, the Emirates are going to be a new player, actually very different because dealing with other countries.
That just brings us to my next question, actually. Just one more question if I may, because I know you're tight for time. Okay, and thanks for being brilliant having you here today. Mm-hmm. With the sectors like crypto, AI, etc., these are the fintechs of the world. These are what we're really betting on here in the UAE. If you look at the data centers, you look at the AI concept, we're now the largest with the US AI data centers, and what we're doing is, do you see that as the 2.0 in terms of market? Do you see with the digital currency, do you see that really moving into the next era?
It is the next era. That's undoubtedly the case. I think that will not come without a lot of pain.
Yes.
A lot of people will lose a lot in playing that game instead of managing it. You know, I don't believe that artificial intelligence will replace natural intelligence. I mean, you still need to have the natural intelligence, but of course the artificial part of it,
which is not common in these days.
Well, which is dramatic, because actually there's a lot of side effects. Look, I remember 20 years ago I was very good in a forest to orient myself anywhere. I would never lose myself. Well, since those navigation systems appeared, and I put them...
You're redundant. The basic fundamentals are redundant.
You become redundant, and your brain does not work as intensively to orient. And I see on my own skin how much I have lost because of that so-called artificial intelligence. Yeah, but I would prefer developing my intelligence rather than depending on something which is actually managed by somebody which is not necessarily my best friend. So you see what I mean, being a bit philosophical here about that, but definitely saying that that is bad is also absurd, because it is creating an incredible amount of resources. Now, we need to be careful, because sadly, a lot of all what happens in AI and in tokens, tokenization, is presented by IT engineers. And I think that's very wrong. They are the back office. They have to program, to write the whole thing. At the end of the day, a token is nothing special. You remember when shares of a company was a piece of paper?
Correct, yes.
And then you had electronic registers. Well, now we're going to have tokens. Guess what? In 10 years or maybe 15 years, I don't know, there will be no other things than a token. And it's going to be managed through blockchain, just because it's more transparent, more traceability.
So effectively, it's the same process. It's just been streamlined onto a blockchain.
Absolutely. As soon as you start going into philosophy of, is it a security? You know, yes, if a token represents an asset, a company, etc., it is a security and should be treated as such. And as soon as you the new countries, again, I had discussions about tokenization in the latest emerging economies, the ones who actually have missed on several steps of development. Well, they are the fastest one to actually take it as a normal element of life, because they just jump to that and it's very convenient. It does work. And if you apply existing legislation on it, it's suddenly easy and very efficient. Of course, the important thing is for the regulator, for the lawmaker, to understand all the issues behind. I remember when what's his name, the Facebook guy,
Zuckerberg, yes,
was having his hearings or auditions, I call that, on Capitol Hill. It was dramatic to see to hear the questions of the senators. They didn't know even what to ask, and that's worrying, because they are there to write laws, to create a system, and they don't really understand what is happening. So the catch-up actually has to come not from the technology, which is driving, but actually from the lawmaker, not to prevent it from developing well, but also preventing from developing wrongly.
Yeah, gotcha.
So that is, I think one cannot ignore that, but we also must not be fanatic about that. We need to realize it's just something increasing the capacities to do things. I mean, we are still going to eat every day.
Yeah, of course.
And we need medicine, and we need the same thing. Nothing is really changing. So I would keep it in a healthy balance. I remember in the early internet days, how many people have been investing billions in internet, solutions, blah, blah. You had all those gurus coming out. Guess what? Except the ones who came early enough and exited early enough to make a fortune, at the end of the day, in the early 2000s, the majority of those companies and the funds behind them went bust. And the ones who really ended up being the winners are the ones, not the ones who created the solutions, but the ones who applied them.
Correct. It's a very interesting outlook on it.
So that's something I'm expecting to repeat now. Look, I'm more attracted by a bread and butter or brick and mortar is better, business, which suddenly is making an upgrade, but continue doing the same thing, than by the AI solutions behind. Now, I know that I'm contradicting a little bit the reality. You have people who have been exiting companies and made billions, because we are still at the early stage of
on the upward curve. Correct. Yeah.
So yeah, if you are very good technologically and technically to know how it works, I'm sure there's an enormous universum of possibilities here. But I'm more, classical. I'm being more careful. I'm seeing the next part of the curve, which is going to be phenomenal.
Well, look, we look forward to seeing that. And the next conversation, I'm sure the viewers would like to understand when that happens. We'll obviously introduce it. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you.
For those of you who want to understand about fund structures, SPVs, Sandrock Capital, Mr. Michael Orloff here is here to support you and help you. And then we can discuss that at a later date. But thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Martin.
Thank you, sir.
Have a great day.
Thank you.